You simply do not have the aesthetic, style, or class for my wedding photos. Yeah, those were the exact words my sister dropped right in front of our entire family. No warning, no argument beforehand, just cold, calculated public humiliation from my own blood. She wanted a high society, luxury-style wedding, and apparently, my modest clothes and working-class job didn't fit her shiny new image. So she explicitly banned me. My mother patted my hand and told me to just let her enjoy her big day. So I stayed home, kept quiet, and didn't make a scene. If you're new here, subscribe. I post a new story every day. Because what happened at that altar, nobody in our family saw coming. Okay, so let me give you some context on my sister, Chloe. Chloe has always been obsessed with status. The moment she got engaged to David, who comes from a very wealthy family, her ego completely exploded. Suddenly, our normal, everyday family wasn't good enough. I work as a middle school librarian, and I wear comfortable, normal clothes. To Chloe, that made me an embarrassment. 2 weeks before the ceremony, she called a family dinner just to hand out official invitations. When she reached me, she handed me an empty envelope. Then she looked me dead in the eye and said I was uninvited because I was too low class and would ruin her venue aesthetic. I waited for my parents to step in. I waited for someone to say, "Hey, that's your sister, that's completely out of line." Nothing. My mom literally whispered to me, "Just don't cause drama, honey. It's her special day." I'll be honest, I didn't expect what came next, but at that moment, I realized where I stood. I took the high road, smiled, and said, "Fine. Have a great wedding." So, wedding day comes around. I spend my Saturday in sweatpants, eating takeout, catching up on books, and enjoying my peace. Meanwhile, Chloe was having her multi-$1,000 dream ceremony at a historic estate. Now, what Chloe forgot, or deliberately hid, was that David had no idea I was uninvited. David always liked me. He thought our family was close, tight-knit, and grounded. In fact, David's entire family values humility and family unity above everything else, despite their money. So, during the reception toasts, David stands up to give his speech. He looks around the room, expecting to see me, because he had specifically asked Chloe months ago if my speech was ready. He notices my seat is empty. He asks my mother right there at the head table, "Where is she? Is she stuck in traffic?" My mother gets flustered and tries to brush it off, saying I had a work conflict. Now here's where I'd have lost it. Chloe jumps in and laughs, saying, "Oh, she just didn't care enough to show up, babe. You know how she is." Wait, read that part again. She tried to pin her own cruelty on me to make herself look like the victim in front of her new husband. Would you have stayed quiet if you were in David's shoes, or would you have questioned it right then? Let me know below. David didn't buy it. Not for a second. He knew I had taken time off work months in advance for this wedding. So, while people were filming the speeches on their phones for live streams and social media clips, David stepped away, grabbed his phone, and called me directly. Did Chloe really think a lie like that wouldn't fall apart in seconds? My phone rings on my coffee table. It's David. I answer, thinking maybe he hit the wrong button or something. He says, "Hey, are you okay? Why aren't you here? Chloe said you didn't want to come." I paused. I wasn't going to lie for her, but I also didn't want to blow up his wedding day. So I just said, "David, Chloe asked me not to come. She said I didn't fit the class level or look of the wedding, and I didn't want to cause a scene." On her big day. Dead silence on the line. Then he asks, "She said what?" I repeated it, word for word, including what she said at the family dinner. David thanked me, hung up, and walked right back into the main banquet hall. And this is where the entire night turned upside down. David walks up to the microphone in front of 200 guests. The videographer is recording. Dozens of guests have their phones out filming the grand toast. David takes a deep breath and says, "Before we continue, I need to clear something up." He points to my empty chair. "My wife told me my sister-in-law couldn't be here because of work. I just called her. It turns out, Chloe banned her because she thought she was too low class for our photos." The entire room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Chloe's face turned completely white. David looked right at her and said, "I married you believing you were a kind, family-oriented person. But excluding your own sister over money and appearances is the trashiest thing I've ever seen." He didn't scream. He didn't throw anything. He just laid out the truth with total, chilling composure. Chloe started crying, trying to reach for his arm, stammering that it was a misunderstanding. David pulled away, put the microphone down, and said to the room, "Enjoy the food. I'm going home." He walked straight out of his own reception, leaving Chloe standing alone at the head table in front of both of their families. Within 2 hours, someone who was live streaming the reception posted the clip online. By the next morning, that video had over 3 million views. Comments were flooding in from everywhere, calling out the bride and praising the groom for standing up for real values over fake luxury. When a lie constructed for vanity explodes in front of millions of people, is there any coming back from that? By Sunday afternoon, my phone was absolutely blowing up. I had 47 missed calls from my sister, 30 from my mother, and a flooded inbox full of hysterical, wall of text messages. Chloe wasn't apologizing. No, of course not. She was spamming me with rage, screaming that I had ruined her life, destroyed her marriage, and made her the biggest villain on the internet. My mother called me crying hysterically, practically begging me on her knees over the speakerphone. She asked if I could post a public video or statement claiming the whole thing was a misunderstanding, or a staged prank, just so David would come back and save face for the family. I listened to my mother sob for a solid 2 minutes. And then I said, very calmly, "Mom, she uninvited her own sister because of the clothes I wear. She lied to her husband at the altar. She made her choice, and now she has to live with it. I am not lying for her." And I hung up. I'll be honest, a small part of me wondered if I should have just kept my mouth shut when David called. But then I remembered how it felt sitting at that dinner table while my sister handed me an empty envelope and told me I was too low class to be seen near her. She didn't care about my feelings. She only cared about the picture-perfect illusion. Later that week, David texted me asking if we could meet up for coffee. When I met him, he looked exhausted, but his mind was totally clear. He told me he had moved all his belongings back into his old apartment that very morning. He didn't just walk out of the reception, he hired a lawyer on Monday and filed for a full annulment. He looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't care if your family was rich, poor, or somewhere in between. I cared about integrity. The moment I saw how easily she lied to my face and humiliated you just to look good for social media, I realized I didn't know who I was marrying at all." He even apologized to me for how my sister treated me under his watch. Meanwhile, back at home, the fallout was catastrophic. The live stream video hit 6 million views across TikTok and YouTube within 4 days. People were making commentary breakdowns, meme edits, and reaction videos dissecting the entire moment. Chloe had spent 2 years planning a wedding to show off a lifestyle she couldn't afford, to impress people who didn't care about her, only to become internationally famous for being caught in her own vanity. Her venue non-refundable deposits lost. Her lavish lifestyle with David's family gone. And the worst part, she can't even walk into her local coffee shop without someone recognizing her from that viral clip. When you try so hard to build an empire out of fake status and cruelty, how can you be surprised when the whole thing collapses like a house of cards? Looking back on all of this, it taught me a pretty heavy lesson about people. True class isn't about expensive dresses, historic venue rentals, or curated Instagram photos. True class is how you treat the people who love you when nobody is watching. Chloe tried to cast me out to protect her image of perfection. In the end, her own arrogance exposed exactly who she was to the entire world, and she lost the only man who actually loved her for who she was supposed to be. So, what do you think? Did the groom do the right thing by calling her out in front of everyone at the reception, or should he have pulled her aside in private? Would you have answered David's phone call and told him the truth, or kept the peace? Drop your verdict in the comments below. I read through as many as I can. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. I post brand new, Unspoken Confessions every single day. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.